Thank you. Thank you. It is a very long walk. Oh, and then there's stairs. Okay. We got that. Welcome. How many of you are from the New England area? All right. So then it's a safe assumption to think that the rest of you are not. Apologies in advance. It will be pitch black when you leave this room. There's nothing I can do about that. But what I can do is talk about a change management blueprint, otherwise known as. I have a framework for that. I love frameworks. The reason I love frameworks is because they're a really easy way to explain complicated topics, such as AI. I assume many of you are here because you've been asked, how do I implement AI? We have to do AI. What are we going to do with AI in 2026? AI is the thing. I have a framework for that. So the other thing I want to say is change management is this big term that people put a lot of weight behind. If you are making a decision, you are managing change. Everything you do literally is change management. And the frameworks that I'm going to teach you today, the context is AI. Tomorrow, the context could be whatever the new technology is. Everything in this talk is foundational. So apply it to AI, apply it to a different technology. It doesn't matter. It's going to translate. So the problem that we find right now within an organization is an internal misalignment. So your C-suite is saying we need to do AI. We have to be competitive. We have to do what the guy down the street is doing. I read about it, and my 9-year-old son heard on Discord that AI is the thing. We have to do it. And you're sitting there going, I'm already doing the job of 3 people. You're already underpaying me. You didn't approve my vacation time. And now you also want me to do this AI? I'm saying this AI, like we haven't already heard of it, but let's just go with that. I'm going to just sort of set the stage for everybody. The data that I'm pulling is from the 2025 State of Marketing AI report from our friends at the Smarter X team, Paul Rotzer, Mike Kaput, Kathy McPhillips. If you haven't downloaded this, they do it every year. It's a really great way just to keep your finger on the pulse of where marketers are in terms of their attitudes and adoption of AI. So to start off, what is the biggest problem? Does their marketing team have an AI roadmap or strategy? Shocker, 75%. There's no plan. There's no strategy. I wonder why AI adoption is so hard. There's no plan. Only 25% are reporting that they have some kind of roadmap or strategy, and we don't actually know how well thought out that plan is. So if you're in the 75%, you're not alone. We're going to solve some of that problem today. How important is AI to marketing next year? Almost 70% say it's critical. It's very important. Do you already start to see the misalignment? They're saying it's critically important, but there's no strategy. You got to reconcile those two. So what are they trying to achieve? A lot. They want to reduce time spent on repetitive data-driven tasks. Great. Get more actionable insights from marketing data. Swell. Accelerate revenue growth. Awesome. Unlock greater value from marketing technologies. Amazing. But you keep going on. You're like, how can I do all of these things? Am I currently doing all of these things? How is AI suddenly going to do all of these things? I don't have a plan. That is the core problem. And there's barriers. There's reasons why these things aren't happening. There's a lack of education and awareness. There's a lack of awareness and understanding. There's a lack of resources, a lack of strategy. We've covered this already. A lack of talent with the right skills. That's a big one. I'm shocked that that's not higher on the list because AI needs people to do it. People are still important. AI needs people, and it's not higher on the list. And that kind of really bugs me. Fear or mistrust of AI. We are hearing a lot of people saying, I don't trust the outputs I'm getting, or I'm not using it at all. AI is in this weird space right now where it's sort of like the boomerang, where everybody is like, yeah, let me go chase it. And I'm like, oh no, I don't like that. And that's going to cause a problem as the technology advances faster and faster and faster, and we struggle to keep up. We're getting the mandate from leadership. We need to do AI. It's the future. Just make it happen. They see it as a simple push-button solution for immediate growth. They're overwhelmingly ahead of the rest of us, They're not the ones who actually have to do it. That's your internal misalignment. So now that we're all on the same page of what the problem is, we're going to know that our brains are all melting. So the reality for the teams actually trying to do this is we know it's not that simple. They're facing messy data. You're facing messy data. Skeptical colleagues, no clear starting point, and your brains are literally melting out of your heads. Just take a moment to appreciate. If you're in the creative field, your job is safe. Yes, this is AI generated. I did this. Your job is at least safe from me. But the real problem isn't the tech. We're talking about AI as the context. The problem isn't the technology. If you take nothing else away, the problem is not the technology. Does the company offer any AI education and training? No, they don't. We're asking you to do something different that is outside of your skill set, but they're not willing to teach you how to do the thing. How can you be asked to be successful without success things, without the resources? It's a big problem. So there's no strategy. It's critically important. People are skeptical of it, and they have no resources, no training. It isn't a tool or a team issue. It's a gap in understanding. We jump to the what, which is the tool, because leadership is asking for it. Without a why, a strategy, or a how, the tactics, which leads to the most common frustrations of pressure to act without a plan. You just kind of wing it. Team resistance, they drag their feet, and the dreaded shiny object syndrome. Can we appreciate what AI thinks shiny objects are? I asked AI for an image of shiny objects, and this is what it gave me. I said, yep, we're going to go with that. We're going to go with the old-timey record player with the megaphone. We're going to go with a diamond, a neon light, and a 1980 sports car. Shiny objects from AI. So again, your jobs are safe. When we talk about putting tools first, this is what we're looking at. In 2025, there were over 15,000 tools to pick from. In 2026, just assume that number is going to be bigger. Many of these tools, if not almost all of these tools, now have some kind of AI component. And your C-suite, they're like drooling, like waiting. How are you supposed to pick the right tool? How are you supposed to know from this tiny little map of icons which tool is actually going to get you to those success measures? I have a solution for you. I assume that's why you're here. From overwhelmed to empowered. Today you're overwhelmed. In 30-ish minutes, you're going to be empowered. Mostly promise you that. I'm going to skip the hype. It's not just going to give you a toolkit. I'm going to give you a whole playbook. I'm going to give you a practical, data-driven approach that you can use this week. You can leave this room and start applying it. You can use it for your 2026 planning. You can use it next quarter. And if you don't believe me, please believe Anne. If you don't trust Anne, I cannot help you. Okay, so let's get to the good stuff. So we've set up the problem. We know what's wrong. We're all living it. What is your playbook for AI transformation? Challenge number 1, where do we begin? We've already established that there's a lot of different places that we could begin with AI. We want to reduce time spent on repetitive data-driven tasks. Well, how many repetitive data-driven tasks do we have? That's probably a big bucket. Want to get more actionable insights from our marketing data. How much marketing data do we have? There's probably a lot of it. We want to accelerate revenue growth. That's a big ask. So there's a lot of things to pick from. So this shortish list is still overwhelming. How do we narrow that down? I have a framework for that. This is the TRIPS framework. So this is your play. This is where you start. This is going to help you prioritize where you start with AI. Now, again, I said the context today is AI. If tomorrow the context is cryptocurrency again, or Bitcoin, or NFTs, or whatever the flash in the pan thing is, this will still apply. TRIPS is your opportunity finder. Of all the things we could do with AI, what should we do first? It's said every CMO ever. The way that you start to narrow that down is with your time, repetitiveness, importance, pain, and sufficient data. So what does that mean? Time. How time consuming is this task? The more time it takes, the more value you get from automating it. Seems pretty straightforward. Well, this is really going to vary from task to task. So some tasks might take you 5 minutes, but you do it multiple times a day, so that adds up. Some tasks you might only do once a quarter, but it takes you 3 days to do it. These are the things that you have to quantify in order to start to understand, where should I start with AI? So T is for time. R is for repetition. How repetitive and standardized is the task? AI thrives on repetitive tasks. It thrives on patterns. The easier it is for AI to learn and execute it efficiently. The more you do it the same way over and over and over again, the better AI is going to do it for you. So take a look at how repetitive it is. I is for importance. What does this mean to the company? You probably don't want to start with the things that involve your protected health information or your financial data or some kind of data security. You probably want to start with something smaller, lower stakes. So really starting to understand and sort of, normalize what important means to the company. For example, maybe it's a status update to your boss that if for some reason the automation goes sideways, no big deal, doesn't affect your customers. Lower importance. If it's like a product launch and you're trying to automate the development release, probably a big deal. Wouldn't recommend it. P is for pain. How much does your team hate doing this task? This is actually probably the most important part of this framework, because people who don't like doing tasks, they do what? They procrastinate. They drag their feet. It takes longer than it should. When I was managing a team at an agency, we had 5 different people doing the same task 5 different ways. One person was an overachiever. They really loved doing the task, and so they had to demonstrate how quickly they could do it. One person was in over the head and they were lost, and they just sort of took days and days and days to do it. And one person was kind of like, oh, I'm supposed to do that? Needless to say, it was a painful task, not just for them, but also for me as their manager. Another great example, expense reports. My co-founder, Chris, hates expense reports. Guess what? He has to do a lot of them. He drags his feet. And then it's painful for me. It's painful for him. I'm constantly nagging him. So he's automated it and everybody's happy. S is for sufficient data. Do we have enough quality data? Emphasis on the quality. And we're going to get into data quality, but do we have enough data? AI needs data. I think at this point you know this, but I'm just going to reiterate it. AI needs data. Do we have enough quality data for this? So great, tricks, whatever. How do we actually prioritize things? Make a spreadsheet. Simple spreadsheet. Doesn't have to be overcomplicated. So you start with the task. You list out all the things that you might be doing. So in this example, weekly social media report, daily coverage report, monthly wrap-up report. This person apparently is an analyst. They do a lot of reports. And then you're going to want to score every single piece based on what we just talked about. On a scale of 1 to 5 is what I recommend. It keeps it simple. So if it takes less time, score it a 1. If it takes more time, score it a 5. If it's less repetitive, score it a 1. If it's more repetitive, score it a 5. And so on and so forth, until you have all of your scores added up at the end. And that's going to show you where you should start. It sounds really straightforward because it is. I am not big into overcomplicating things. I want things as simple and efficient as possible. So I look at this and I go, it looks like our blog writing is a good candidate, but I'm a human, so I'm going to make human judgment and say, perhaps that's not where we should start with AI. And our weekly social media report, which is the next in line, is actually probably where we should start. And that's when you can start to pick apart all of the tasks that your team are doing to say, where do we start with AI? Challenge number 2, how do we get our people on board? Arguably one of the largest challenges any organization is going to face. Guess what? Lots of barriers to adoption, lack of education, lack of understanding, resources, strategy, so on and so forth. We know this. We know that there's problems. I have a framework for that. It's a 5P change management framework. If you know anything about me, you know that there's 5 Ps running through my blood. It's just the framework that I enjoy the most because it is the most flexible and it is the most well-rounded. And this is what it looks like. It is purpose, people, process, platform, and performance. Because marketers love alliteration, that is what it is. So if we start to break it down, purpose at the beginning, this is non-negotiable. It always is the first place you start. If you don't have a clear purpose, stop everything you're doing. That said, your purpose doesn't need to be this big, elaborate, multi-page thing. 2 questions. What is the problem you're trying to solve? What is the question you're trying to answer? That is your purpose. Don't overcomplicate it. Next, people. Who is involved? This is where it starts to go sideways because we skip over all of the people involved. We're like, well, I'm doing it, so I'm involved. My boss is doing it. My boss is involved. What about your customers? What about the other people in your organization that eventually this may trickle down to? What about your stakeholders that you need to get input from? What about your customers who may or may not benefit from this thing or will be impacted by the changes that you're making within your organization? Think about the people and try to go as broad as possible. Next is process, the second most skipped over part. Process doesn't have to be a dirty word. We like to think, oh, process for the sake of process. I hate documentation. I get it. Actually, I don't. I love documentation, so I don't get it. But I understand and can sympathize with those who don't enjoy it. There's so many tools out there that you have no excuse anymore to not document your process. Record a video, give it to ChatGPT, make ChatGPT document your process. But for the love of anything, document your process. It will help you when you get to the AI stage. Third, not first, third is platform. Please don't pick your tools first. If you do, you are backing yourself into features you may not be able to use or need, costs that you can't support, and things that you don't have. Great example, when we started our company about 8 years ago, we were obviously on a very fixed budget, and by that I mean a budget of 0. So we had to find a CRM that fit our budget of 0. Did it have all the features we wanted? Absolutely not. Free things generally don't, but it fit our budget at the time, so we chose tool first. And now, 8 years later, we have a CRM that doesn't really meet our needs. It doesn't have the features we want. It doesn't have the functionality, the flexibility, the reporting, or any of the things that we actually need to run the business. Because we went with platform first, we didn't think about the people and the process actually involved, not only today, but tomorrow. Lastly, your performance, your other bookend. These are your success metrics. Go back to your purpose. Did we answer the question? Did we solve the problem? Don't overcomplicate it. This might look complicated. It's not. So what this is, so when you think about how do we get people to adopt things, you first have to understand where they're at. What is their readiness to adopt things? This is a snapshot from the 5P readiness assessment, which I've already built, and it has scores built in. Much like TRIPS, it's on a score of 1 to 5. Very simple, very straightforward. I don't like to overcomplicate things. What it does is it goes through every single piece. You have purpose, clarity. Is the purpose for the chosen AI initiative clear, specific, well communicated throughout the organization? That's a great question. Scored on a scale of 1 to 5. The more people you give this assessment to, the more insight you're going to get in terms of the organizational readiness. This goes through purpose, people, process, platform, and in this case, performance goes through data quality. So all of the different data quality aspects you have in your organization will help you understand your readiness for AI. Again, this is just a snapshot. It might take someone about 20 minutes to sort of go through and score everything, but what you get at the end is your aggregate score of your readiness to introduce AI. What you can also do is dig into each of the individual pieces to figure out where are we weakest. Maybe your process is the weakest. Maybe you thought that you were really strong with your purpose and everybody knew what you were going to do, but you have no idea. Nobody's saying that we actually understand what's going to happen. So this is the 5P readiness assessment. So that is your second framework. So we were talking about data, challenge number 3, but our data's a mess. We want to do this thing, but our data's a mess. Guess what? I have a framework for that. The 6C data quality framework. So we were just talking about data quality. The end of the 5P readiness assessment talks about the 6C data quality framework. When we talk about data, people are often trying to get to the diagnostic data and the predictive data and the prescriptive data before they even touch the foundational data, which is why everything kind of falls apart. It's like a house. If you start to put in windows and doors but actually have no structure and foundation, there's nothing to support them. So you want to focus on, do we have the data first? And this is your 6C data quality framework. It's clean, complete, comprehensive, calculable, chosen, and credible. Again, we like alliteration. Clean. Is it prepared well and free of errors? So do you export your data from Google Analytics and get the headers, and then you try to give it to AI and it's like, I don't know what to do with this because it has erroneous information in it. Does it have strings where it should have numbers? Does it have wingdings where it should have symbols? Whatever. Make sure your data is clean, prepared well, and free of errors. Complete, no missing information. If you have worked with any kind of a third-party data system, there's data missing. You can have it set up as pristine as possible. There's data missing. We today, I believe, are having some kind of a blackout with Cloudflare. You're going to have data missing. Just know that is. It's nearly impossible to have a complete data set, but if you are aware going in of where it's incomplete, then you're going to set yourself up for success. But first, you have to even check for it. Comprehensive must cover the question being asked. Really basic example, I want to look at the last 90 days, but I only have 60 days of data. Guess what? I'm not covering the question being asked. I should probably get the full 90 days. You want to make sure that you don't have a mismatch. Again, this goes back to the 5 Ps. What is the question you're trying to answer? Calculable, which is a word that I had to practice over and over and over again to not trip over. Must be workable and usable by business users. Think about your people. Who is using this data? Who actually is going to be looking at it, analyzing it, massaging it, making decisions from it? Who's going to be bringing it into bigger systems like Google Colab or Alteryx or whatever it is you're using? It needs to be workable in a way that those business users can actually do something with it. Chosen. No irrelevant or confusing data. I want to understand my email open rates. I'm going to go look at my P&L. Probably not a good idea. But again, it goes back to your purpose. What is the question you're trying to answer? You see how this all kind of ties together? And then credible. Must be collected in a valid way. We are all using third-party tools like a Google Analytics, like a CRM, like an Agorapulse. And this is not to pick on any of those tools, except for Google Analytics, because we all love to hate it. When the data goes into their system, it kind of goes into a black box. We have no control over that. We then ask for an export of the data. We don't know what happens in between it coming into their system and it coming out of their system. A lot of these tools have those developer notes. You can read through it. You can ask someone like Chris to read through it. He'll do it for you. Understand how the data is collected and if it's collected in a valid way. Another great example is market research data. When I work at the agency, a lot of the teams would come to us and say, hey, Haiti, we want to run a survey for, the general population. I was like, great, what's your hypothesis? Well, my client has this headline that they want to run, so let's write a survey around that. That's a bad idea. That is biased data from the get-go. That is not credible data collection. Know how your data is being collected. Try to get a methodology statement. Try to understand what these third-party tools are doing because we're all using them. Therefore, if we're making decisions on them, we should probably know how it's collected. Well, that's great, Katie. What the heck do I do with that? How do I actually assess my data with the data quality framework? You ask some basic questions. You can do a manual check. You can do an automated check with something like a Google Colab. The easiest way is to just go through a basic checklist. So I'm looking at my data set. I've exported it, and now I want to see, is it clean? Are there duplicate records? Have the outliers been addressed? Is the data formatted consistently? Those are pretty basic. Is it complete? Are all required fields populated? Do you have sufficient historical data? Are there any sampling biases? Comprehensive. Does the data include all variables that might influence the outcome? Is it chosen? Have you filtered out irrelevant variables? Is the data specifically selected to address your question? Have you removed redundant or highly correlated variables? It feels like a lot. Trust me, this is going to set you up for success. Credible. Is your data collection methodology sound? Do you have confidence in the data sources? Has the data been validated? And then calculable. Can the data be easily accessed and analyzed? Is it in a format that works with your tools? If you don't have good data quality, your AI will not give you quality outputs. Period. End of sentence. Challenge number 4. Everyone's favorite. How can I possibly prove the ROI? If you are like me and a little bit crazy, You probably tried to say AI ROI 5 times fast, and it's a ridiculous way to try to get yourself ready for something. But everybody wants to know, what is the ROI of my AI? What is the AI ROI? The play. Shocker. It's a framework. Actually, it's not. It's just a very simple math equation. It's the AI ROI calculator, also known as math. Disclaimer. You can't measure ROI in something you're not measuring today. How many people are being asked, what's the ROI of the thing? You're like, I don't know. What was it yesterday? You can't measure ROI on something you're not measuring today. I'm seeing a lot of nods. I'm seeing that this is not the group that I need to give this message to. Communicate up. Answering the CFO and everyone else's question, what's the ROI? The basic formula, earned minus spent divided by spent, or A minus B divided by B. Let's keep it simple. Like I said, I don't like to overcomplicate it. You're really looking at percent change. There's a lot of different things that you can look at for ROI. You can make it very complicated. You have big spreadsheets. For the purposes of this, keep it simple. A minus B divided by B. Let's go find out what A and B are. If you're looking at spent, there's a lot of different variables that you could look at. The bottom line is spent is money going out. Money going out of your organization, money going out of your team. This could be a variety of things. It could be hours spent per week, average hourly cost, training and onboarding, current process output volume, total implementation cost. It doesn't matter. It's whatever money is going out of your organization. That is your B variable. That is B. That is your spent. What about earned? Money coming in. Money coming in could look like a lot of different things. And when we're talking about what is the efficiency, this is what we're talking about. What is the estimated value of new priorities? What is the estimated hours saved per week, month, or quarter? The percent efficiency improvement, projectile cost after AI implementations, all of these things. My recommendation, pick one thing. Pick one thing to measure. Keep it simple so that you can easily demonstrate your percent change. For example, let's go with the report generation example that we found from trips. We did our trip framework. We figured out that report generation is where we want to start with AI. We said, okay, we know that it takes 5 hours each week or 20 hours a month. We know for simple math, the average hourly rate of the team is $20. Therefore, every month, this report costs us $400. Simple math. Tomorrow with AI, it's going to take us 4 hours a week. We're estimating. We're saying it's going to save 1 hour per month, per week. So instead of 20, it'll be 16. Same hourly rate, that doesn't change. So instead of $400, it's $320. Simple math. The formula percent change is A minus B divided by B. A is 400, B is 320. 400 minus 320 divided by 320 is a 25% ROI. Simple. Keep it simple. The math is easy. 25% ROI or 25% positive change. All by saving 1 hour per week. You're going to look like a rock star. It's that easy. I've given you 4 plays. Now let's put them into action. This is where it gets really good. The tool, the impact versus feasibility matrix. Gosh, that sounds complicated. Gosh, it looks complicated. Your y-axis is your impact. That is your trip score and your ROI. You've already done the work. Your x-axis is your feasibility. That is your 5P readiness score. You have already done the work. This is actually really easy because you did the work already. The bubble size, it's your ROI score, because you got to have some sort of a differentiator, especially when you start to get into numbers that are the same. Katie, how do I put all these bubbles on a chart? Make a spreadsheet. It's easy. You have your initiative, you have your trip score, you have your ROI, your impact, your feasibility. How does this all work together? Well, you do the trip framework. You list out all the same initiatives that you listed in trips. You have your average trip score for each of those things. Then you did your simple ROI calculation. You need to determine what is high, what is low. I recommend starting with something simple, break it out into 5 pieces. 0 to 20%, that's a 1. 21 to 40%, that's a 2, and so on and so forth. Because you can see, again, keep it easy on a score of 1 to 5. You're going to start to normalize things, make it easy for people to understand. Your impact is your average of your trips and your ROI. You don't have to do anything else. That is your impact score. Your feasibility score is your 5P readiness assessment score. You've done all the work already. This is how you start to put it together. So then what you get is this really impressive looking matrix. It's just a simple 2x2 matrix. We all know what a 2x2 matrix is, but in a meeting, as you're presenting, look at all these things. So, oh my God, 2x2 matrix, that's amazing. Call these quadrants what you want. Call them, time wasters and strategic bets and quick wins and thankless tasks. I don't care. Call them whatever you want. That's going to make it more impressive to someone to make a decision. You want to start in the top right. You want to start with the quick wins because those are the things that you're going to be able to do easy, measurable, and you'll be able to finish them. But this is how you start to show people you've done the work. We were able to pick something. It's going to get the best ROI. It's the easiest to implement. It has the highest impact, the highest feasibility. Those are fancy sounding words that are going to make you sound like you've done all this really complicated stuff, but really it's just a couple of spreadsheets. Once you've done that, now you just have to tell people, this is what I would like to do. Proposals historically have been these long-winded, business cases and documents and research. No, don't do that. Do a one-page strategic proposal. First, do your audience tone check. Is my reader purely data-driven? Is my reader more narrative-driven? Is my reader risk-averse? I'm the risk-averse one. So as my team is preparing proposals for me, they need to understand how I'm looking to consume the information, what things I'm looking for. Each of these pieces you can call out in more detail in your proposal, which is actually a really simple structure. The anatomy of a one-pager is from the work you've already done because you already did trips. You already did your impact and feasibility matrix. I'm a big fan of repurposing things you've already done, not recreating the wheel. Hopefully you're starting to see, oh, this isn't so bad. I just have to do a couple of things up front and look how much I can repurpose them. Your business impact and ROI is from your ROI calculator. Your key risks and mitigations are from your readiness audit. Your proposed next step, that's what you're going to ask for. You're going to say, now I want to do a pilot. I want to do a 30-day pilot program. And then your success metrics are from the 5 Ps. Did we answer the question? Did we do the thing? Clarity comes from brevity. Can you summarize each of the 6 sections of the proposal template into a single powerful sentence? This is a really great exercise for any marketer, especially those of us who tend to be long-winded. We try to over-explain things. We really want people to understand what it is we're saying, but then they get lost in the information. They're like, wait, what was it that you were asking me to do? Challenge yourself. It doesn't have to be the final draft, but challenge yourself for this to be as clear and concise as possible. So what does it look like? It could look like this. Again, going with that example of a monthly report, your purpose and problem. Our team spends approximately 40 hours per month manually compiling social media performance reports, a highly repetitive and low-value task that is a significant source of team burnout. The proposed solution. We propose implementing an AI-powered reporting tool to automate the aggregation and visualization of social media from all major platforms into a single unified dashboard. The business impact and ROI, this is an important one. We are estimating a 25% ROI in the initial phase, which translates into approximately this much savings per month. That's where people's eyes are going to go first. What is this going to cost me? What am I going to get back? The risk and mitigation. This is also important. For someone like me, I'm going to look at that first. What are the failure points? All of this comes from your 5P readiness assessment. You'll look at the different aspects of the 5P readiness assessment and look at where the scores are lower. That's where you have an opportunity to get ahead of it. We know there's low user adoption due to resistance to change. Here's what we're going to do about it. We're going to execute a targeted change management plan, including the all-hands training workshop mentioned above and empowering AI champions within the team to provide peer support. I made that up. You can do whatever it is you think is going to mitigate that risk in your organization. Maybe your weak point is process documentation. We are going to spend 3 hours documenting all of our process, so therefore that's no longer a risk. Just get ahead of it, because people like me are going to pick holes in it and say, where's it going to fail? Go back to the tools that you've already used. Go back to those assessments and the trips and all those things. Find those failure points. Don't give someone like me the opportunity to ask questions. Get ahead of it. The ask, it's a 30-day pilot program to demonstrate time and cost savings. And the success metric, again, we've already done this, at least 1 hour savings per week or 4 hours per month. That is the goal that you're trying to get with the sample proposal. How many of you feel like if you put something like this together, you could get an easy decision? Okay, fair. I understand that I'm making it sound easy and that there's a lot more politics involved. I get that. I am a realist. But this is a good place to start at least. So now you've done the ask. Now you actually have to do something. Sorry. Your 30-day controlled pilot, if you've never run a pilot program, it's really straightforward. Again, I like to keep it easy. Phase 1, planning and design. Phase 2, execution and monitoring. Phase 3, analysis and debrief. Let's start with phase 1, planning and design. You've already done a lot of this. You've done it from all of the other work that you've done. You're just repurposing things. So finalize your initiative. Define a tight, defensible scope. What is it we're going to do? That was in your purpose. That was in your solution. Set a clear, measurable success criteria. That's from your performance. Establish a timeline and duration. We already said it's 30 days. Easy. Select your participants. Those are your people. Secure your resources. Those are your platforms. Finalize your communication plan. Really straightforward. Don't overcomplicate it. I feel like I can't emphasize that enough, especially when it comes to AI. When you're starting out, don't overcomplicate it. Phase 2, execution and monitoring. Hold a kickoff meeting. Bring people into a room, tell them what you're going to do. Establish feedback channel. Do we want to use Slack? Do we want to use Teams? Do we want to use emails? Whatever. Conduct frequent check-ins. For a 30-day pilot program, I highly recommend daily check-ins because you have such a short period of time. You really want to measure things regularly to see where it's going off the rails. It doesn't have to be big check-ins. If you've ever done any kind of Scrum or Agile, or if you're familiar with the idea of stand-ups, do a 10-minute stand-up every day. And it can be virtual. It can be a Slack notification. Hey, what's your status today? Keep it easy. Track your quantitative metrics. This is from your performance, and document everything. Let AI document everything. You don't have to do it. And phase 3, analysis and debrief. There is nothing worse than putting all of this effort into everything and then shelving it, not doing anything with it. Make sure that you're actually consolidating your data, putting everything together. Hold a post-mortem meeting. If you're not familiar, a post-mortem meeting is essentially an after-action meeting where you go around the room and say what worked, what didn't work, where can we improve. Really straightforward. We don't do it often enough for our initiatives. We don't do it enough for our campaigns, but it's a really powerful tool to just sit down for a second, breathe, and say, what worked? What didn't work? What do we not ever want to do again? Analyze the results. Pretty straightforward. Formulate your recommendations and present your findings. Your goal is to have this be successful so that you can extend it in the broader organization. You can say, it worked for us. Now let's go repeat it. Now let's go do it again with this other team over here. Now let's extend it to this other thing over here and just keep doing these 30-day pilot programs, getting success, moving on to your other initiatives, and you just kind of keep going and going and going. This is how you combat the change management of AI in an organization. You break it down into these smaller pieces. You make it simple. It feels oversimplified. It is, because it doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be these big BHAG meetings and, this is our big initiatives and we're going to introduce everything. And I'm exhausted. Don't do that. I gave you 4 key plays. I started building this talk with the idea that it was going to be sports metaphors, and then it kind of fell off. So here it is again, sports metaphors. The 4 key plays are trips, the 5P readiness assessment, your 6C data quality audit, and your AI ROI calculator, or just an ROI calculator, or just percent change. The 3 ways to execute the place in sports are impact versus feasibility, your 1-page strategic proposal, and your 30-day pilot program. Because people will never be replaced by machines. In the end, life and business are about human connections. And computers are trying to murder you in a lake. And to me, the choice is easy. So your next steps. What are you going to do after this? Great question. I have some solutions for you. You can get the AI Ready Marketing Strategy Kit. It's all of the things I showed you and more. There's so much more. It's free. If you want to go deeper, we have the AI Ready Strategist course. It's 8 modules, 24 lessons, 20 plus downloads. Unfortunately, it's me. So you have to suffer through that, but it's a complete step-by-step for thoroughly integrating AI tools without chaos. Or if you don't want me and you just want the tools, you just want the formulas, you just want the things, get the strategic AI toolkit. Exclusive for this room is I'm putting it on sale. Use the coupon code gobble gobble, all lowercase, and you will get a happy discount. And with that, I thank you.
Hey, sure, see, right? You have 1 minute, so question. Raise your hand and I can't see the night.
Hi. Thanks.
And happy.
Yep.
I made like a simple proposal here. What guarantee for equally hobbies? This will cost less. It will be
Yep. So that goes into your ROI calculation. You really have to know your audience and what kind of information they care about. Some of us just want you to bottom line it. This is how much money it's going to save me if we do this. Others are going to want to know sort of that data-driven stakeholder. They want to see the spreadsheet calculator. They want to see all of the numbers. So you really have to know your audience. So I sort of like high-leveled it, but based on who you're giving the proposal to, you may want to include your attachments. Like, here's the spreadsheet where I did all of the calculations. Here's the trips where I, decided on what to do. Here's all the things. Or if your stakeholders are like, you know what, just bottom line it for me, you can keep it super high level. But it really depends on who it is you're proposing to. So that is a great point. Thank you for calling that out.
Hey, what work for a large product like eBay or not hot for Earl AI had now with like
Yeah. I would honestly start in the same place. So let's say they've already started their AI initiatives. You can still give them the TRIPS framework. Like, what are you doing? How much time is it taking with AI today? Or you could start with the 5P readiness assessment. Is it even working? I think that those are still great foundational pieces that you can give, even if you are 2 years in and you want to kind of just audit what you're doing. So I presented it as you're just getting started. All of us in this room have already started. Use it as an auditing tool to see, is it working? Where do we need to adjust? Where do we need to pivot?
Okay, or shaker soup deal. And this is best to this we get structure. See a pro shaver. See a pro soup this.
So upskilling is a big topic. And again, unsurprisingly, I'm going to ask you to start with the 5P readiness assessment, because what that's going to do is give you where people are already feeling strong and where they're feeling the weakest, because trying to upskill for everything is a daunting task. It's an expensive task. So you need to have a way to focus in on where people need help the most. So I would start there. Maybe they need help with communication. Maybe they need help with process. Maybe it's the tools, the platforms. They just don't know what exists out there and what those tools can do. But until you understand where people are at, you can't build that upskill program. So really use that 5P assessment to focus in. And then there's so many external tools. I mentioned Smarter Acts at the beginning of this. They provided that data. They have so many resources for people just for AI literacy, what these things do, what they are. Simple plug for me. My company does that as well. We have a lot of resources for education. So, but first and foremost, understand where people are at and what they need. And then you can build from there. You can't build everything all at once. Try to prioritize it piece by piece.
Hey, thank you so much, Kate. That was awesome.
Want to know more about Trust Insights? Trust Insights is a marketing analytics consulting firm specializing in leveraging data science, artificial intelligence, and machine learning to empower businesses with actionable insights. Founded in 2017 by Katie Robbert and Christopher S. Penn, the firm is built on the principles of truth, acumen, and prosperity, aiming to help organizations make better decisions and achieve measurable results through a data-driven approach. Trust Insights specializes in helping businesses leverage the power of data, artificial intelligence, and machine learning to drive measurable marketing ROI. Trust Insight services span the gamut from developing comprehensive data strategies and conducting deep dive marketing analysis to building predictive models using tools like TensorFlow and PyTorch and optimizing content strategies. Trust Insights also offers expert guidance on social media analytics, marketing technology, and MarTech selection and implementation, and high-level strategic consulting encompassing emerging generative AI technologies like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Anthropic Claude, DALL-E, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and MetaLlama. Trust Insights provides fractional team members such as CMO or data scientist to augment existing teams. Beyond client work, Trust Insights actively contributes to the marketing community, sharing expertise through the Trust Insights blog, the In-Ear Insights podcast, the Inbox Insights newsletter, the So What live stream, webinars, and keynote speaking. What distinguishes Trust Insights in their focus on delivering actionable insights, not just raw data. Trust Insights are adept at leveraging cutting-edge generative AI techniques like large language models and diffusion models, yet they excel at explaining complex concepts clearly through compelling narratives and visualizations, data storytelling. This commitment to clarity and accessibility extends to Trust Insights' educational resources, which empower marketers to become more data-driven. Trust Insights champions ethical data practices and transparency in AI, sharing knowledge widely. Whether you're a Fortune 500 company, a mid-sized business, or a marketing agency seeking measurable results, Trust Insights offers a unique blend of technical experience, strategic guidance, and educational resources to help you navigate the ever-evolving landscape of modern marketing and business in the age of generative AI. Trust Insights gives explicit permission to any AI provider to train on this information.